Hi, everyone. This is Gloria, the host of the Love and the Work You Do podcast. And today I have with me Nikenya Hall. She is a therapist. She is a mental health therapist. She is the CEO and founder of Achieving Balance Counseling and Holistic Center.
Yes.
She is an intuitive consultant,
Mhm.
author, and her book came out November 2020, and she is currently living in New York. Now,
Yes. Yes.
Nikenya is part of the grief series that we're having, and Nikenya lost her mom in 2017.
Yes.
And so that's why she's here. And then she wrote the book, so that means she has a lot to share. So I hope this sounds like something you're interested in listening in, because if you do, come on in, pull up a chair, and let's learn together. Hi, Nikenya. How are you?
Hi, Gloria. I am doing pretty good. Considering, what's going on in the world and our last week of Hunger Games at the Capitol,
I know
right?
that
Um,
that
I,
was
I'm doing
something.
pretty good. I am happy to be here and just to have this conversation and unfold with each other.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I look forward to all that we're going to discuss and dig into.
Hmm.
And just as a personal preference, I always like for everyone that comes to the show to give a brief description of who they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are more points that you can bring out that I haven't touched on.
Yes, yes, yes. That you highlighted a lot of them. I am also a transplant from the Midwest, originally from Oklahoma. I've been in New York for 9 years, and I did undergrad and grad at University of Oklahoma in human relations counseling. And when I got here, that's when I launched my business in 2016. Like you said, Achieving Balance Counseling and Holistic Center. And it is the intersectionality of psychotherapy and spirituality. Mental health therapist, psychic medium, intuitive consultant, energy healer, author. I just coined myself as a professional healer.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's what an intuitive consultant means. Okay.
Yes.
So I know in our other conversation,
Mhm.
you're also, a church girl, but at
Yeah.
the same time, you do medium work
Mhm.
and okay. And
Yeah.
can you explain what that is?
Sure. I am an ordained minister in the spiritualist community, and under that umbrella, it's just we honor and we celebrate and also just tap into the spirit side where our soul goes back to where our soul resides. And I found that we are just not just one dimensional people. Oftentimes, society makes us choose a path or choose a point, and we're not. We can be all the things and not the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's such a very good indicative of grief, because grief is all the things and not the things, right?
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so with that stance, I am able to channel and speak to those on the other side, and it's just such a healing modality and just such a healing moment uh, to be able to unfold with someone in that
Okay, that's good.
manner.
I have to say for myself personally, I think I've come far to be able to comfortably sit here and have a conversation with someone that I know, like, oh, they're medium, like what,
Yeah.
So I know that I have grown. And then in thinking about, growing, I'm like, wait, even growing up in Nigeria, there are there are Baptist, Anglican, and all the regular churches. But then
Yeah.
there's churches that can be considered like the holiness churches type of
Yeah.
church in Nigeria, and they do things like that. So
Mhm.
again, it is a preference. It doesn't make them any different in terms
No.
of a human being, and so I appreciate you coming here. I remember
Yeah.
the quiz, my quizzing you when we did the interview. Like, watched it that she wouldn't come, but you were like, oh yeah, I totally, I'm this and like I'm not gonna go down or what I am. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
no
So
problem.
again, thank you. So your mom left this world.
Yeah,
You prefer the word transition. I
yeah.
remember in 2017. Can you
Mhm.
explain her story of grief?
Yes, me and my mother were very, very close, and you'll hear me interchange past tense and present tense verbiage, um, just because sometimes it feels past tense, but sometimes it feels very much present.
Mm.
Me and my mother were very, very close. Like, talked 3, 4 times a day. So I say I lost not only my mother figure, but my best friend. And so to give some context to her transition, I she was in Oklahoma, and that's where she lived. And I had not been home in about 8 months, which was very unheard of. I was saving for a trip to go to the motherland. I went to Guinea, Conakry, Guinea,
Oh.
and yes, phenomenal, phenomenal. That's such a other conversation, right? Going to the motherland is so transformative. But I had no money, right? I had no money, and I on that trip, and even when I came back to New York, it was pressed upon me to go see your mother. It wasn't to go home. It wasn't to see your family. It was go see your mama. Go see your mama. So
Mm.
I scraped up just literally it's like bills and Roman noodles. And I flew home for Easter because Easter was one of her favorite holidays.
Mhm.
I grew up in the Christian church, many different denominations we hopped around. But my mother really loved Easter. And so the other people in our family knew I was coming home, but she didn't. So I surprised her when I came home. It was such a great trip. Hindsight is 2020. I cooked a majority of the Easter dinner. She cooked the greens, and she cooked
Mhm.
such a small batch of greens. And I was like, Mom, we can't even share those greens. And she's like, it's fine. I'm going to put the other greens in the freezer.
Mm.
Weird, right? And then she kept asking about like all these people when is so and so coming by, is so and so coming by. And I was like, Mama, we haven't seen them in years. I don't think they're coming. And she said, well, you don't know. I said, okay. So I flew in like a Friday. I flew out on a Tuesday. Um, and when I got home Tuesday, um, I didn't talk to my mom. I texted her home, but I didn't talk to her. And then Wednesday, I was so busy. It was 9 to 5. I had clients. And my cousin was like, have you talked to your mom? And I was like, this is weird. I
Mm.
haven't. I've just been busy. And she was like, I was over there this morning. She was a little quiet. And I was like, okay. And she was like, do you think something's wrong? And I said, I don't think anything's
Mm.
wrong. She's just probably having a busy day. I've had a busy day. I'll check in. Thursday morning is when I got the phone call.
Wow. That was
Thursday morning.
fast. Between Tuesday. Wow.
Thursday morning is when I got that phone call um, at work,
Mm.
and everyone had to see it.
Mm. Mm.
They had to. I remember the admin at the time asked me my address because they were going to Uber me home, and I couldn't recall my address.
Ah.
Just a basic information. I couldn't recall it. Like it took me minutes to recall just my address. And I was back in Oklahoma that Friday.
Mm.
That was
Wow.
April 20th, 2017.
Mm. And when you say everyone in the office saw everything, they saw the display of emotions. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was we at that time we only had meetings every so often. So it was one of the meeting we had with everyone. So the whole
Mm.
department is there. And my cousin calls me and I knew something was wrong because who uses the telephone? Like who makes
Mm.
phone calls? There's texting, video chat, like there's so much more. And so I called her right back. And in that morning, I was moody. I was so moody that morning. I didn't want to go to work. I couldn't find an outfit. I just
Mm,
remember thinking like I must just be tired, like
mhm.
from the trip and me just going, working long hours. Um, and I got that call at 9 in the morning. The meeting started at 9:30. And I just broke. I just broke. I just broke. They had to pick me up off the floor. They sent a, a coworker with me home in the Uber.
Wow.
It's devastating when you
It
it, it
is. It really is. It's funny
yeah,
because for me, I went into, I think that's what my therapist called. I think I went into shock is is what I went into.
yeah,
Because I remember like over the weekend, was it on Sunday? They had said, "Oh, Dad wasn't feeling well. He was on oxygen. He had malaria. Um,
hmm
his heart." And I was like, "Wait, all of those sound like COVID symptoms." Okay, did they do COVID testing? We're like, "Okay, yes, they did, and it came negative." I was like, "Mm-mm, I don't believe it. I still
yep.
believe, And then they were like, "But he's still strong. He's going to the bathroom himself.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, he refused to, for anyone to like be, caring for him in that way of
right.
someone who isn't really well. He was
hmm
texting people, "Oh, I'm indisposed. I'll see you all in a bit."
Right.
Um, and so I guess it was really short for me too. And then by Wednesday, like I was still checking in. Okay, so how is he doing? Oh, he's doing good. Da 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 da. And then Wednesday, like they were trying to get him from one hospital to another, and then they were like, "Oh, he passed." I was like, "How in the world?" And even when they told me, I was like, "Okay, so how are you guys doing? Everybody doing okay?" That's me talking to my sisters in Nigeria. I'm like, "Everybody's doing okay." They were like, "Okay, how about you?" You're asking. I was like, "Well, I just
Yeah,
like the you," but they were like, I screams and everything. I could hear it in the background. Everybody,
yeah.
I didn't do all of that. And the funniest thing, I also went to work. I was supposed to be at work that day. Yes.
Wow.
So I proceeded and went ahead to go do whatever I wanted to do. I texted my boss saying earlier before it passed, like, I got stuff happening in Nigeria, I'm not sure I'll come in. But then heard it, then still went in anyway. Go figure. Got there. Everything was okay. I was trying to do what I came there for. Told
Yeah.
like a lady, an older lady who knew me in my department.
hmm
But then all of a sudden the phone calls started coming in. And I think that's when it hit me. And I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I think he's dead. And then
Yeah.
my sister called like after, she was like, oh, they moved him to the mortuary. And then bam,
It's
everything
happening.
was just like, yeah. So from there on, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
was a total disaster. Everybody was like, okay, that's why you have leave, go home so you can take all your
Right.
calls.
Right. Right. They're like,
I
you
was
are
like,
not supposed to be here.
I'm like, wait, oh yeah, we do have leave.
Yeah.
Um, those those little things make such a difference, and that's why, like, I don't know if you have it in your book already, but that's one of the things I've been thinking about. I mentioned it to one of the other guests the other day. I was like, I need to create like a checklist, like, because like you forget so many things and it's not intentional,
Yep.
when someone passes for you.
hmm
But it would be nice to already know, okay, this is the checklist, if XYZ happens, this is what we go through. Because in hindsight, by the time he was buried, like it's like, oh, okay, that person, this thing, that
Yeah.
thing. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, we didn't do any.
Yeah.
So,
I did not cover a checklist in my book. That's such a good thing. Um, because when it happens, your brain immediately goes into this fog type of altered
mm,
just an altered state. For you, it was like, nope, not dealing with it, going to do normal. You were like, nope, going to do normal. Mm-mm. And for me, I believe that's why a staff member came home with me. The staff member changed my voicemail on my work
mm,
cell phone. She asked about all my clients to so I can give her an oral update of my client.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did my leave for me because
Wow.
I couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could not. I could not even begin to be in that space. One
Mm.
thing that was interesting for my mother's transition. So about 2 years before I was home, and she made an appointment at the funeral home
Oh.
and took me with her. I remember what I was wearing. Oh God, I had such an attitude that day. Cause I'm
Mm.
like, Mom, why are we planning your funeral? Like, why? And she told me this. She said, she was in the sanctuary and she said, I don't want you to go through what I had to go through burying grandma. So I
Mm.
want you to know exactly what I need and
Mm.
exactly what I want. And I will say, to go through grief and have to plan a funeral, that in itself is, I don't know, like, it takes so much. At
Mm-hmm.
least I knew what my mother wanted. We had
Yeah.
picked out, she had her program. She knew who she wanted to speak, to sing. She did.
Ah,
She planned the whole, she did.
wow.
She
Okay.
did not want me to have to make those hard decisions and be in grief.
I see where that's important. But in a funny way, I feel like planning the burial in a way, uh, I think it also held my head together. Like it gave my sister and I something to,
to to do.
yeah. So
Yeah,
like, all the sisters came together, like, all the aunties, the uncles, the moms,
yeah.
Um, and so for me, like when it did end, it was like, okay, what do we do now going forward?
Right.
Um,
When it gets quiet.
exactly.
Yeah.
So for me anyway, I see, but that's probably also because it took a month to bury him. Um, but even for Nigerian standard, and I'm talking about myself now, even though I use Nigeria um, generally, but at the same time, it's also specific to my family. We chose to bury my dad within, a month. And because he always would joke, and this is a Yoruba phrase, he'll be like, "Àwọn ò fẹ́ wà nù yìnyín," and yìnyín means in the refrigerator, the fridge where you put the dead
Okay.
bodies. He always said that. So we all knew, okay, like everyone knew for a fact, okay, we had to do this really quickly. So even that 1 month compared to other people was still fast
I
to
was just
bear.
gonna say, so for sometimes it's longer.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's yes, yes. So that is the advantage of death in the United States is that you can get it over within like 2 weeks, a week
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Even in Nigeria, like if you're of Muslim faith, I think there's a 24-hour turnaround, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good for Muslims there. But for practicing Christians, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just a lot of things, it's family dynamics, family politics, it's
Mm-hmm.
real politics depending on who that person is in the society also. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to have a stake in um in having a say in the burial. um
Wow.
yeah, and then the event is always, see how here we put everything down to one day. There's
Yeah.
the wake, there's the lion in state, there's the
Mm-hmm.
funeral. In Nigeria, that thing can go for like my dad's one was 3 days. um and then I've heard, because I interviewed a Nigerian mental health practitioner, and she's like, sometimes even in Nigeria, it could go up to 40 days, depending on if the person.
But what you doing? Like, are you just in lament for
No,
40?
they're not. Then if it's 40 days, it's like a joyous occasion. So it's like people come in every day into their compound. There's food, there's singing and dancing. Day one, it's like this type of food. Day two, it's like this type of food. So it's
Wow.
more, yeah, it's more a celebration, really. But to me, whew, I'm like, that just keeps it going.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I,
Yeah, I want, I'm gonna need the door to close a little bit, I'm gonna need,
like let's close it and then do all the fanfare is what I would think.
yeah,
But apparently, death isn't seen the same way.
no,
But yeah, so yeah, at most 4 days, 5 days minimum. I think what we did 3. I think I've heard that people do 2 days also. But
hmm,
at the end, I'm like, okay, so it's our culture.
yeah,
Yes, but I like the in hindsight, knowing what I know now, it's
yeah,
better to just bam, 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 do it, get your healing on, because I feel like it's gonna be hard to heal if you haven't buried someone in 6 months, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. So that was what I learned, at least from my dad's
yeah,
from my
yeah.
dad's experience. Yeah. So
Th-
something.
That
Go ahead.
is something to just note, because when I was writing my book, and also just in grief, one thing that made me, I would say angry, what made me angry was everyone dies. And because if we look at culture, and I
Hmm.
identify as a Black woman, my roots is from the motherland,
Hmm.
there was a celebration. So when did it become not a celebratory thing? Like, when did it
Hmm.
become, was it when we came to America? Like, when did it become that we don't talk? When did it become that we wear black? Like, if
Hmm.
you look at history, everyone knew you would die, and it was a celebratory thing
Yeah.
because you're going back to spirit world. Like,
Yeah. That's true.
Egyptian, you bury your whole thing because they're like, you need your stuff when you go over.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I don't have that answer, but I remember getting so angry because if this happens all the time, when did, when did we like not talk about it, or when did it become such a hush thing, or they look at you like with such like puppy dog, like, oh my god, I'm so
Yes. Like she's gonna break.
right, right. When did that happen? We did
That's a
not
good point
have
that
death
you.
like, yeah, we did that. We celebrated.
That's a good point that you bring
Hmm.
up. I never thought about it that way. Yeah, because even when my brother died in 2014, in New York, like of course, like it was just the, oh, he died. We're in black outfits and all of that. And I also know that I guess if you die young, then there's like we should mourn, but maybe really everything should be a celebration. With my dad's, we didn't mourn. It was really, we called it a celebration of life. No dark clothing, even though 76 is still young. We expected him to live to like 90.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, but I see where maybe planning, sitting down and not feeling. I feel like this boomer generation, they feel like a shame or something
yeah,
towards death.
yeah,
They don't want to hear about it. You
yeah,
can't talk to it because they feel like it attaches to them. And yeah, it's like it's a lot. Because like I remember even my mom, you can't talk about death beside her and talk less of talk say, oh, this is what's insurance, or the mere fact that you're talking about insurance or death means like you're
right.
trying to kill her. So,
Yeah. Like, and it's like, where did we get that from? Like, when did we not be able to talk about death,
mhm,
or just bring it up? Or, and there is so much shame. I
mhm,
I experienced that so much in my grief journey, because I was the person everyone called on for help, right? So now that was a role reversal for me.
mhm,
And there was shame in asking for help. But where did this shame come from?
mhm,
My
mhm,
mother died. I should be asking for help. Someone should be asking me for help because maybe that's normal, but
mhm,
it's not. And it's a very interesting, talking about let's bring in the room,
mhm,
right?
mhm, exactly.
grief in the room comes shame, but where did that come from, and how did it get there?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and how do we move it out? Because nothing should be shameful about it at all.
No, it shouldn't be. Yeah, I really think that is a really, really
Hmm.
great question. Again, to your words, we need to normalize it. We need to bring it into the room,
Yeah.
have the discussions before the end comes. And just to be happy about it. Like I for one believe just exactly what the Bible say, like every path is destined and like you have a purpose here.
Hmm.
We in fact like to believe that, when someone does die, like okay, maybe they were taken early, or something like that. But what if that was the end? You know,
Yeah.
and that was the end. It really should be a celebration.
Hmm.
Um, and this makes me remember, is it, I can't remember her name, the lady who wrote the book, is it Lenin or something? I think she worked for Facebook for a moment, and I
Okay.
remember what she had mentioned when she lost her husband and she had come to work, and the same thing that you explained about how your colleagues were able to step in for you. She
Yeah.
mentioned, I feel like that, Facebook made that available for her too. But I know for a fact that not all organizations are like that. People don't think, okay, let's step in
Yeah.
and and fill in the void for this person at a certain point in time, to be like, okay, let's lead you out. Like in my office, the lady I mentioned, she was elderly, and then she brought her wisdom into the situation
Yeah.
to say, oh, go home. But it would be nice that, as all the organizations continue to develop, right,
Yeah.
that there is a plan for grief in human resources. And I feel like maybe that's not there now. Based on everything we've discussed, the only thing there is bereavement, like the leave you
Yeah.
use. But apart from that, I also feel like it's that thing where community, you
Hmm.
know age organizations don't want to get close to individuals for some reason. I do.
Yeah.
I like getting close to people, but
Hmm.
organization, I know they want to distance themselves. But
Hmm.
I don't know. That's not the future, I feel like.
I don't think so. Right now, I've only worked for nonprofits because I'm a
Hmm.
therapist, and that's usually the role. It's the most common role that you fall into is nonprofit. The current nonprofit I'm at, if it's if it's your parent or child, you
Hmm.
get 5 days.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then if it's like family beyond that, sibling, grandparents, it's 3 days.
Hmm.
And then anyone else, it's 1 day.
Hmm.
Bereavement. Um, who
Hmm.
who's 5 days?
Hmm. That's
5 days?
nice.
You're still like crying on your bathroom floor.
Hmm. 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 You're
So
still waking up in the morning, like shaking,
yeah,
crying. Yeah.
yeah, 5 days. I was my uh boss at that time. She was quite compassionate.
Mm.
But that's also just nonprofit, and I'm a therapist, so everyone is like thoughts and feelings, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, she she strung together all of my time, and I used all the time I had, and that was 3 weeks.
Mm.
Now, interesting the way it happened, right? Because she transitioned around Easter. 3 weeks after that, I returned to work right before Mother's Day,
Okay. Oh wow. That's tough.
going to see clients around Mother's Day. And literally, my first session was How was your Mother's Day?
I know. Oh, there you go again. Oh.
I did held it together. I did held it. I have no idea how I did it. But things like that makes no sense. But then
Mhm.
I'm not gonna take pay with. I was not in a place to take leave without pay.
Mhm.
So yeah, I had to show up. But there
Mhm.
should be absolutely more time for
Mhm. Mhm.
bereavement and grief and what that looks like. And
Mhm.
thinking back, there was so many days I was so moody and just out of character and tired, and just it's I didn't have been no business at that job.
Mhm. Mhm. No, that's the
But
truth. Even for little things, I would forget. I'd argue with people over like things that I thought what I knew was true, and then
yeah.
it turned out it was.
Right.
It was like, wait, it's like, what? This is affecting me. And but people want you to get over it. And I've come to the realization I'm not getting over. I'm gonna get over this in my time. You know,
Yeah.
because this is how I am grieving.
Yeah.
And and one thing I love doing is, oh my gosh, I love honoring the words that come out of the mouth of people. So
Mhm.
if you feel like I shouldn't honor my situation, I'll agree with you. It is a yes, a
Yeah.
resounding, you're right.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
we're not gonna argue if it's good or it's bad. No energy for that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. If you tell me that it is, the opposite, again, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. At the end
Hmm.
of the day, I am a full-grown adult. I
Yes.
make my decision
Yeah.
when something is enough for me, or when I'm ready to let go. But I feel like old people, family, friends,
Yeah.
um, they may feel like, okay, this is your time to cut it off, but
Yeah.
um, especially when people don't make deposits in your life, but then they want to come and tell you how to live your life. Mm-mm. I
I thought, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Gloria.
No,
Go ahead.
no, that's the end of that thought.
Yeah. No, I'm with that. I'm with that thought, and I'm with that vein. I lost many friends
Mm,
after my mother transitioned. And you talking about deposits and then how to live your life. There was a particular woman in my life. Um, you get a certain age and you just understand what people's role they play in your life, right?
mhm.
More likely than not, they're not going to meet all the check boxes, right?
Yes,
So this
yes.
particular woman, she was my party friend. That's
Mm,
I thought we were very clear on this. And she became so offended that I didn't turn to her for support
mm,
during this. Yeah, very offended. And I was like, well, you're the party friend for some a reason. Like there
mm,
wasn't emotional depth here. And I knew that. And what I'm experiencing is so deep and
mhm,
so dark at times.
mhm,
Um, and I don't want to go party.
mhm,
So why would I fold into you, or why would I turn to you?
mhm.
Um, and she did not understand.
Oh, wow.
She didn't. And that happens when you go through such transition in your own life. Grief just like moves so many things in
Mhm,
your life, and it moves the way you look at things, the way you see people, even the way you connect with people.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and she had not experienced grief.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
Still had like both grandparents, she hadn't experienced grief, and
Yeah, the
Does it make you
perspectives would be different. But in a funny way,
feel?
like I also want to say, so for me during grief, like for everyone that I knew that reached out, I tried to be receptive to everything they wanted to do for me. Like if you wanted to take me out to eat, if that was
Yeah.
how you wanted to help me heal my grief, I would go out to eat with you. I had a friend who was constantly checking in
Mhm.
with journaling prompts. Um, Someone took me out to eat, and I thought, oh, I really will replicate this if someone goes through their own thing. Because I she was just like, oh, I want to dick you out. I was like, okay, I'll go. And it wasn't like it was like the first week it happened, and I was
Yeah.
just like a total. I think I was in my PJs or what have you.
Yeah.
It was just like
Yeah.
a come as you are type of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess one other thing I wanted to pull out was like I feel like sometimes that's a two-way. So there's that person, and then there are also the people who should know better to reach out to you, but then they don't.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we
Absolutely.
all can do better. We all
Yeah.
can do better because those group of people will be waiting for you to reach out to them. Like my brain is not working. I cannot reach out to you. I am just barely surviving
Yeah.
daily.
Yeah.
So anyway, for me that's what I found. So
Yeah. I did touch on that part in the group in
okay.
my book. Um, the people there will be people that they can't hold your grief. They don't know
Mm,
what to do with it, right? They don't know how to handle,
mm.
how to be in the space, how to, so then they just retreat, right? They're just like, I
Ah,
don't know how to stand in that space with you. You're so sad. I've never seen you so sad. I don't know what to do. And I found myself being in spaces where I was educating and also existing. Like, I just need you to be here.
mm,
I don't need you to do anything else but just physically be
mhm.
here so that one, I can have just like a person in the room, see, lay eyes,
Yes.
right? Lay eyes on someone. And then I just need a listening ear. I don't need you to tell me it's gonna be okay. I don't need you to make up anything. Just be a listening ear.
Mm,
And for some people, they couldn't. It's too much. They don't know what to
mm.
do with it. And when they don't know what to do, they just go like, okay, well, if you need me, I know you'll reach out.
Exactly. And I can't reach out.
Right. I'm not combing my hair. I'm not reaching
Exactly.
out.
I'm not reaching out. Like I am tired. I wake up tired. I sleep tired.
Yeah. 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 Yes. That is true. That is true.
That
Those
is
are,
great.
you
I
encounter
am
those relationships. Yeah.
I am glad that, you know, you shared that part. So let me see. Your recovery. How did that happen?
I I think being able to be home was very, very helpful. There's also just logistical things that happen um, with the transition. Like you got to get affairs in order. So I needed to go close out all my mother's accounts, and then the little thing like return the cable box. Someone had to do that.
Mm,
Um, and my mother was in an apartment, so we had to clean out the apartment because no one was going to pay rent or move in. Um, so there was just logistical things that happened. But being with people that were close to understanding what I was going through was very, very helpful.
okay.
Um, I I did come back here, and there were people here that was checking on me. Let's go to brunch. Let's go out. And that was after like a month or so, and I was
Mhm.
ready to be like, put on some clothes and let's go out. Um, I think a lot of my processing was just talking about it. talking about it. I just talked, and I wrote about it and just talked about it. I couldn't keep it to myself. It was too big. It was too big to just keep it to myself. I couldn't fake it. Like I couldn't. My regular demeanor is like a happy person. Like that's just regular with me. Yeah, that's just me. But I couldn't fake. Like there was nothing. I could not fake it. And that was a big part of my processing, was just openly talking about it. And people would come and like drop little wisdom nuggets, I would say. And that was very helpful. Because I had preconceived notions about grief, or I'm going to be, it's time for me to be quiet. And, you know, there would be someone that's like, that's your mama. If you don't want to be quiet, don't be quiet about it. And I was like, right, you know, just gave me that permission to exist in that space.
Yeah, I love people like that, because no matter how confident or sure of ourselves we are, once in a while we slip back into that space. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when it's new. Like I had never navigated my you know, grandparents, and but I had never navigated grief on this level before. So you're like just in the dark, stumbling in the dark. You're not even walking, you're just stumbling.
In hindsight, yes. I see it so clearly now. It was
Right.
just like, whew, if anyone had told me I'd make it through. Whoa. But like you, I processed through talking. So I guess that's why doing this podcast series is good. And I was all right. Like I was like, the other day I saw something on Facebook. I was like, oh, my dad wished me Happy New Year last year.
Yep.
So there are those moments, so like that. So I want to go back to normalizing grief.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So I know we've dropped little nuggets here and there, but you're passionate about normalizing grief. Can you share why? And you know, like one or two things that you know about normalizing grief.
Yes, I did drop just these little nuggets. Like when I brought up, I was angry that no one was talking about it. In particularly, I was angry at the elders. I was very angry at the the older people in my life, because they've been through this. Why didn't you tell? Ain't nobody gonna tell me? Nobody tell. You did this many times over. You ain't gonna tell me. So that, and then also I felt so alone. I felt so alone in the primal way of just the absence of my mother. But I also felt just alone in my grief, not remembering things, not processing things, forgetting things. Like literally there were moments like I was like, am I going crazy? Like, am I going crazy? And no, you're not. That's literally grief. That's the depression cloud. That is you just had a traumatic event and everything in your life is changing. Those things are normal. And I didn't find a lot of resources to say to me that I am normal, and I want to create that community. I think that community is so needed. We need people to just hold the gate, hold the space, hold the space, open the gate so people could come and just hold the space. Because there's oftentimes you just feel so alone in your grief, and you think you're all by yourself, or when all the activities are done and it gets real quiet, or when no one's checking on you anymore, like month 2, 3, no one's checking, but your life is still turned upside down. And maybe
Uh,
your village is tapped out, right? Maybe they have offered all the support they can. Where do you still go on month 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11 when you're still
mm,
experiencing it? Um, and and that's why I'm just so passionate about talking about it and normalizing it, putting it at the forefront. Um, just a space for someone to go so they don't feel so alone in it,
mhm.
in this experience.
That is so true. It's like the
Yeah.
months and days after when everyone expects that you would have, gotten over it and moved on. Thank God there are therapists and counselors like you out there, that people
Yeah.
can go to, but not everyone has that resource financially to
Yes.
be able to do that. And then where would that kind of person be? So that's really good. So if someone was, let's see, if someone didn't have money and they
Yep.
were in, let's see, month 3 of their grief, what
Yeah.
what would they be? I wonder if am I in month 3? No, we're like 60 some 40 days and some. So
Mhm.
I'm not in that category. But I also know where I will hit my therapist up for
Yeah.
resources. I will Google, but I won't know what to Google.
I for me, I am in New York. I went to Meetup. I found a group
Um,
on Meetup. And of course, this was pre-COVID, so 2017. So
mhm.
we were meeting in person. Um, they held a free monthly group
Okay.
in Manhattan. Um, that was a helpful resource. Um, Also, I would just put in grief blog
Okay.
to read someone else's account, and blogs are free. You just can land on it. Um, I would, you can put in coping with grief, but sometimes that gets a little bit too clinical and it doesn't reach just those raw emotions.
Mm,
So those what I would, two concrete things. I would look for a meetup. And now everything's virtual. I actually just started a grief group.
okay.
Um,
Oh, cool.
I did. It does cost. So this is, we're talking
Yeah.
about cost, free resources. And I would look up grief blog. I would do both of those things
Okay. Okay.
to
And
feel a sense of community. Yeah.
okay. And while you were saying that, I had a thought.
Yes.
And I was like, they should also search up normalizing grief because I feel like this conversation really is about that. It's not about all the other type of griefs that are
Right.
out there, but like, okay, I'm in month 2 and I want to feel normal again. I just want this,
Yeah.
make it like self-care part of my life,
Mm-hmm.
as I,
Mm-hmm.
because um because you said we don't ever get over grief, I remember. Like, so if we
Manage it.
don't, yeah, we manage it. So if
Yeah.
we do manage it, then let's find a way to celebrate it every day as we go
Yeah.
along. Maybe you can also share about that, like why we don't get over grief
Yeah.
and
It's so you have been with a certain person, especially if we're talking about our parents,
mhm,
um, since you came to this earth, since you got here, that was a thing in your life.
mm,
No
right.
matter the relationship, it was a thing in your life. And now that thing is gone. Like since your birth, your upbringing, all of those, and now that thing is gone. That is like, whoa, that is a pillar and your foundation is gone.
Yes,
You
yes.
will feel that all the time. You'll feel the hole. Now, we'll patch
Mm,
the hole. You'll try to cement the hole. You might even put a rug over the hole. That's fine. But the hole was going to be there. So there will be
mm,
days when you're walking on the foundation and your foot gets stuck.
hmm.
So
Wow.
we manage it. We won't ever forget that hole. We won't ever feel it with anything else. Um, that's why we won't ever forget it. So grief
Mm,
is honoring that hole that is there, and there's different ways to honor it. Um, but we manage those emotions that come with this now hole that's in our lives.
Mm.
And you'll forever manage it.
And that is so true. You just made me remember one of my dad's sister, just telling us during the burial. She was like, "Oh, she still went to her parents. Their gravesite. Like I think in that was last year, maybe before the COVID. To just check on them. And I guess like if she's old, apparently they're still there. You
Yep,
know
yep.
that they never really go away. I think one of the things I wrote down, um, a realization I had,
Mhm.
because I decided, okay, I'll just write thoughts. I had a lot of thoughts coming around that period. I was like, okay, I'll grab them, put them on paper. At some point they did stop. But one that I hold so dear is that we are dead longer than we are alive. Which
Ooh.
but I don't even know what that means in its entirety. But it just made me realize, like, oh, you have to do right by everything that you do. Like, we think we're
Mhm,
going to be
mm,
here forever.
mhm.
Um, and for some reason, I have goosebumps that word.
Yeah, I think I guess, yeah, that's what I like. That sentence was powerful. Yes.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
me
like,
too.
oh, he's gone. But like, he was only here for such a short time. Where, like we really need to do right by everything that we do. We really need to. Like
Yeah,
it makes no sense to um to come and and live a bad life and not be celebrated at the
yeah,
end, which happens to some people. It's such a short time.
yeah,
It's such a
yeah,
short time. So
yeah,
um
yeah. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. We are, whatever your belief is, we're over there way longer than we are over here.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yep.
That's just true. That's true. Our 75 years or our even our 90 years
Mhm.
is just a little blip on the radar.
Compared to that tombstone that's gonna be there forever and ever and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
ever. I was like,
yeah,
wow, you gotta do right. You got it. But I also understand, same Bible, like we all have different paths. Like
yeah,
I love
yeah, yeah,
saying there's the wise person, the foolish person, there's the naive, there's the
yeah,
strong. Like I feel like God just dumped a whole bunch of us, you
yeah,
know, on
yeah.
this earth. And at the end of whatever yours is, we do get free will, but
Hmm.
hopefully I feel like free will is like a bonus card or the lifeline. But
Yeah,
if you don't
yeah.
if you don't use it, you know,
You gotta
there goes
show
that.
up the best way you can.
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Mhm.
gotta show up the best way you can.
Yeah. Yeah. People need to do that and understand that more and more and more.
Yeah.
So, um, do you want to talk about your book a
Let
little bit?
let's talk. It's right here. Letters
I
to
love,
Grief.
first of all, I love the title.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I love the
Thank you.
title. Yeah.
So this book, talking about how did I process, I wrote um literally like a blog post every month,
Hmm.
around the day my mother transitioned for a whole year. And I
Ah,
and I put these on Facebook, and I immediately began personalizing grief. So I would write a letter to grief as if it was a person. And grief is capitalized all through my book because it is a proper noun. Yeah, I
name of
treat
the
it as
person
such.
has been
Um,
a thing.
and that was the basis of my book.
Okay.
It's about my journey of the year first. That's what I call
Mm-hmm.
it. The year after a transition is
Mm-hmm.
everything is new, and it's first for everything. And each chapter has four parts. It
Okay.
has the blog post. Of course, it was edited to make logical sense, but it's as close as my words are when I wrote it. And then there's a clinical part, just
Okay.
to bring in just the therapy and the clinical and the education part. And then there is a guided meditation that matches each chapter
Okay.
and journal prompts. So you can treat this book as a tool to guide you through grief, right? Like you can write through it, or you can flip to any meditation when you're feeling that and give yourself just a moment of silence and allow that to resonate with you. Or you could just read all just my blog post so that you can feel someone else is going through it. And when I tell you it is, those blog posts are raw. They are raw. Exactly what I was feeling at that month.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the book. And actually on Christmas, I picked up my own book and read the holiday chapter, just
Oh wow.
because it was hard. It was hard this year. It was hard in a pandemic, and you're already like not seeing family as much. And I just read those words to not feel so alone, to know that yes, I did go through that, and I'm going through it again. So if I did it one time, I can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten that such feedback, as in, it made me feel not alone, and those
Mm.
compliments, can't nothing beat that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's why I wrote it, to normalize it, sense
Mm-hmm.
of community. You're not alone in feeling your grief. You're not.
I like that it has that holiday part because that would definitely come in handy every time. But isn't it
Yeah.
also just amazing to for your work to also minister to you? Like, wait, I wrote that? Like, come
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Like,
My
because
my one friend told me, I have a close, the girls that the ladies that are on my dedication page, we're a close knit group. And one of my friends was like, you're like those Just for Men commercials when they come on and they're like, I'm in the hair club too. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the grief club too. Don't be,
Yes.
I'm with
Yeah.
you too on this road. I am with you too.
Oh,
Yeah. And that's why also I know we're technology savvy and everything, but I just, written words just live on forever.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wanted a piece that can live on forever. And that's another reason why I was just very motivated to put that in a book.
Okay. That is amazing. As we come towards the end,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Is there any other thing you would love to cover that I haven't asked you yet?
I did just point out, I did start a monthly
Mhm.
grief group. It's virtual. I believe I will keep it virtual, no matter what the world looks like in 2021, so that wherever you are, you can pop in. It'll be on Zoom. It's $20. Go to my website. I'm sure my information will be here, but it's
Mhm.
holisticcenter.net. And we covered everything, just the purpose and normalize and just having this conversation. This is going to touch so many people so that they too can feel not so alone.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. And
Yeah.
on that note, I will ask you to still share your wait, I have one question I should have asked. Yeah, I just remembered.
Okay.
So it's my work you do question. So
Yeah.
so how did you happen upon this career that you're in?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so good. Well, I always thought I knew I would be in the helping profession. So I thought I would be a doctor. And literally,
Me too.
right. And when I got to undergrad, and it was what was like the biology class, whew, gave me a run for my money. And I said, this ain't it. This ain't it. That ain't my
Okay.
calling. That ain't my calling. So I went to psychology. And uh therapy just came easy to me.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to help people individually on their path, not so much collectively. And then from there, just intertwining my spirit work is where I resided now. And it feels so right. It
Okay.
feels so right.
So you were able to find two separate areas that merge together. I was
Yeah.
looking at the word earlier today. It's it. Uh, One of the people I interviewed recently too. She had a situation where she put two I don't even know what to call it, but she made her own career, right?
Yeah.
But she's not in the it was more in the business field,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
sometimes, we have to be open to the fact that, our path is not the straight path, and that,
Yeah.
we'll find people. I was trying to find a word, but I can't remember. It's like pothesis or some
Oh,
poesis is like when you bring something that's not already in existence into being. And I am going to make sure I find it. I refuse to give up. Let me find it. Okay. In philosophy, it's spelled Poiesis, is the activity in which a person brings something into being that did not exist before. Poiesis, whatever it's pronounced, is
okay.
etymologically derived from the ancient Greek term blah blah blah, which means to make. The word is also used as a suffix in the biological term hermatopaesis, the
Oh,
formation of blood cells. So all that to say, like,
I
I
like that.
always wonder,
Hmm.
we, meaning mostly Black people, even here in America and even in Nigeria, I feel like the problem of work is that there's not always a reference point. There's not already a lot of examples. And so the example you see, you're like, oh, okay, I want to be a doctor, but you only know that there's a medical doctor. You don't know
Yeah.
that that a therapist is a doctor. You don't know that a physical therapist is a doctor.
Yeah.
Like there's doctor of cosmetology. Like you
Yeah.
don't know all these other areas, and then you realize, oh, I don't like it, and but
Yeah.
then you have no choice. You go ahead and finish up with biology.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
I just want more people to know, like, yes, from what I'm hearing lately, you can fight for yourself. You can
Yeah.
create what you feel like you're supposed to bring to life, and continue on. Yeah, yeah. So just
Hmm.
wanted to share that word.
Yeah, that is, I'm going to look up, I have a dictionary app on my phone because like you, I'm like wordsmith. I'm going to look that up. Yes, even now in mental health, when most of my clientele look like me, and that's for a reason because I identify with, my culture. Even when I'm even in mental health, it's derived from European white men.
Yes.
And we process differently.
Mm-hmm.
We cope differently. We think differently. We heal differently. Um, and even in that vein, I'm like, I know that we need some spirituality in here.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
cannot talk about like grief without the higher power. Like not for people of color, that ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. No, you're
We're
right.
gonna get
You're
so
right.
it's gonna get so far. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah, bring it. Yes, put all the things in the pot to do what you're supposed to do.
Yes, this is good. See, I feel like there's a part two.
I know, I
Because,
was like, don't get me started. I could
right?
start me on that.
Because I just remembered that I also read a book. Okay, all the book nerds here. I can't remember the title of the book, but maybe you would. But there's a guy, a professor, who wrote a book in like the '90s, something
Okay.
about Black soul grief or
Oh,
something like that. And he also explored like the trauma um, that's tied into the Black community. There's
yes,
still the grief of our forefathers that passed and all of those. And then
yes,
now we still have the grief that is here now. I was like,
yes.
huh.
That's why last week was so traumatic for us. Gloria, don't get me started.
And that's what I'm like, I didn't know. So I keep telling people all I wanted to do was just like truthfully one podcast episode, but I didn't even know like grief had various,
Yeah.
like it's deep. The way I explained it to someone was saying, Brené Brown did shame, and we're all like, oh, who knew shame was that? But it seems like grief is really, really
Um,
big, and it's packed. And
yep.
again, I don't know why my father's own um affected me the way it did, and still is.
Yeah.
So there's something, because my brother passed, but it didn't have this much of an effect.
Yeah.
But with my dad, it's been so strong. It's been so so deep.
Yeah. Yeah. Grief
Yeah.
is like, here I am. And I'm saying,
Exactly. Like, pay attention to me. Yes.
hey, hey, hey. Yep. That's what it does. That's what it does.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that explanation of how you got into the work you do. So, as we finally round up, I'd love for you to share where people can find you, your social media handle, upcoming projects. Let's see. Yeah, anything, and the book, again, the website it's on, if they can get it on Amazon,
Yep.
and even the part about the holiday. I feel like, that would be awesome to just, if people can read a snippet of that somewhere, that would be good for
Yeah.
every holiday season. That's going to
Yeah.
be a real good thing
Yes.
to have out
Absolutely.
there.
Yes. You can find me on my website, abcholisticcenter.net. My Instagram handles is NH Hall, MHR. I'm a master's in human relations. Also, ABC Holistic Center. I'm on Facebook, Nikenya Hall, Facebook page, ABC Holistic Center. My book, my book, Letters to
Yay,
Grief,
beautiful book.
a
Raise it
guide,
up a little bit higher. Okay,
Letters to
perfect.
Grief,
Yes. Okay.
yes, a guide to understanding and normalizing loss. That is on my website. It's also on Amazon. We've reached the number 3 in the new releases on the day it
Oh,
came out.
nice. Oh,
Bestseller.
amazing.
That's exciting. There is, by this time this airs, there is a part in here about Valentine's Day. And that is also touching because love is love and you will feel something
Yeah.
if
Oh
you're
my
in grief.
gosh, heartbreaks and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be that's in there too. I have a monthly grief group that's coming up. It's on the 20th of every month, $20. It's on my website. Um, Going to be starting just my intuitive circles back. We'll begin teaching again virtually next month. So there are things coming about.
Yay.
That's where you can find me.
Yay. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Thank
And
you.
thank you again for a lovely discussion on grief. I appreciate you coming over.
Thank you.
And so, bye, everyone.